Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Alice, welcome. And welcome to all the participants that are tuning in our webinar. We will have a few minutes to let everyone in, and then we will start. Okay, well, I think we have over 50 participants, so maybe we can proceed to the housekeeping slide. And again, welcome all to this webinar. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. We're connected from different world regions tonight. We are based in Bangkok. A warm welcome from the Switch Asia program and the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership program, jointly implementing this project on circular economy knowledge hubs. The webinar today will be 1 hour and 30 minutes. The language will be in English. We will record the session and send it to all those who are joining us tonight. So no worries if you're missing anything. You will have all the resources at hand and beyond. Our colleagues will also post in the chat interesting links, resources and references. The video will be recorded. So if you do not want to be seen, please turn off your camera. Longer questions can always be emailed to us at the following email. We will also have a Q&A session, so you're most invited to post in the chat. And if you would like to intervene, just raise your hand and we will call you to speak during the webinar. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. Today we will cover, we'll have our team leader, Zinaida Fadiba, having welcome remarks and an introduction. We will also share with you an icebreaker. The session will be divided into 2 panels. Into panel 1, we will have an opportunity to hear from our distinguished colleagues from 5 regional circular economy knowledge and stakeholder platforms. Panel 2, instead, we will hear from users' perspective on how they are basically converting circular economy knowledge and ideas into action. Finally, we will try to finish on time and we will have a wrap-up of the session. So may I call Zinaida Fadiba, please, to come and welcome us all into the beginning of this webinar. Thank you.
Greeting colleagues, evening, morning, day, afternoon, and really almost into the night. It is my pleasure to welcome you into the second webinar organized by the Switch Asia program in collaboration with the colleagues from the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership. This event is a part of joint effort to connect circular economy thinking and knowledge with actionable knowledge and with implementation. Through collaboration with 5 regional circular economy platforms, which are here with us today, and with deep appreciation of the varied regional and national contexts in which we operate, in which these platforms operate, we are facilitating a series of dialogues and focused discussions, as well as broad webinars like this one. Our goal is to collaboratively develop a shared knowledge taxonomy, or if you wish, a classification system that would improve searchability, accessibility, and most importantly, understanding of circular economy practices and insights from across different regions. Today's agenda, as you could see now a moment ago, features 2 dynamic panels. The first one will be bringing together representatives from 5 regional platforms, and colleagues will discuss how their knowledge hubs are driving awareness, enhancing capacity, promoting circular thinking, among different groups, policymakers, businesses, public, NGOs. The second panel will be exploring how diverse user groups can transform circular economy knowledge into tangible actions within their respective sectors. So the user side is very, very important component of this conversation. So thank you for being with us today. And I hope you will find this webinar both engaging and productive. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Zinaida. So let's introduce who will be our two moderators tonight for panel 1 and panel 2. We have for panel session 1, I think we have a slide. Let's introduce the moderators first and then jump into the icebreaker session. So Hannes McNulty is the manager of the, 2 slides, yes. Hannes is the manager of the Green Industry Platform and also Green Growth Knowledge Partnership. On the other hand, we have for panel 2 our circular economy expert René van Berkel, who is an expert for the Switch Asia policy support component. So Hannes, actually, before we go to the panel, we would like to launch an icebreaker to tease a little bit the atmosphere into this webinar session. And that's then I invite Axel to launch the icebreaker for us and everyone to contribute.
Yes, thanks a lot, Sarah. I'm going to share my screen to show you the Mentimeters. If you could please join us I've put the instruction on the chat by using the code that you will have on the chat, or either by scanning the QR code you will get here. So we're going to start by having like a bit of a better sense of the audience here, and to better understand as well, to check a bit the temperature. We're going to start with the first questions, an open questions to know what type of knowledge is most relevant and directly applicable to your work on the circular economy. So if you could please share your feedback for these first questions to get a better sense of this audience and to know you better. Case studies, evidence-based, example of policies, networks, data, example from industries as well in terms of inspirations from networks as well, financing, life cycle assessment as well. It's true that it's a key element as well in order to get a better approach in terms of eco-design, example of policies as well. It's true that to get inspirations of the right policy approach in terms of circular economy. Okay, thanks a lot for all your feedback. We're gonna go then to the second questions in order to respect the timing. We can continue if you want. It's a never-ending exercise. Policy and standard as well. Success stories. Thanks a lot for your feedback. Let's go then to the second questions, which is a ranking questions. We would like to know, when searching for circular economy knowledge, to rank the following sources in order to offer preference. So is it like knowledge platform or online databases, webinars and events, academics or research publications, business news and insights, networking with peers or experts, or social media or informal channels? And what the first one is your first choice? Fantastic. So we've got some feedback, just waiting a bit to get further answers and inputs from the audience to get a better sense of the feeling here, temperature. Okay, so we could definitely see from your feedback that knowledge platform or online databases is really the first one, which is like the key indicators when you are searching for circular economy knowledge. The second one, it's more like academic or research publications. And then there is a little fight between networking with peer experts and business news and insights. Thanks a lot for your answers on these second questions. Let's move forward for the third one, which is as well a ranking questions. If you could select a circular economy knowledge source, please rank the following factors in order of importance. So first being the most important one. So relevance to my regions or sector, credibility and reliability of the source, accessibility, so easy of find free resources, or practical tools and examples of implementations. I'm waiting a bit to get further feedback regarding these questions. So when selecting a circular economy knowledge source, relevance to my regions or sectors seems to be really the first priority. No, in fact, it's practical tools and examples or implementations. Sectors, then the credibility and reliance and the reliability, sorry, of the source, and then the accessibility. Thanks a lot for your feedback. Let's go to the next one by asking you, how often do you access circular economy knowledge through various sources, meaning online platforms, networkings, publications? So is it like regularly, occasionally, rarely, never? I guess we've got here like a large circular economy stakeholders ecosystem. So I'm not really surprised by the answer. It's regularly, so at least once a week for the majority of you, the main part, and occasionally for some of you, rarely for only a few of you. Okay, thanks a lot for your feedback. I'm gonna now go for the last questions of these icebreaker sessions in order to then transit to the panel discussion. In what ways do you actively contribute to the documentation and sharing of circular economy knowledge? It's an open question, so you are free to share your answer directly here. And we could as well go deeper, depending on your answers, during the overall discussion of this event. So mapping, organizations' knowledge platforms, peer-to-peer discussion, development of business cases, point to new paper, developing knowledge platforms and making content available, sector-specific knowledge sharing networks to share our industry insights and practices, through research, scientific projects, lecturing to students. So we can definitely see academic perspective as well. Events and networkings as well, yeah, in order to get a better sense of circular economy knowledge. Thanks a lot for all your feedback. You are more than welcome to still contribute to the Mentimeter, but you could as well, of course, share your feedback on the chat. We will take it into account. Thanks to all of you.
Thanks, Axel. It was a very interesting icebreaker, and we always love to hear from those who join our webinars. So without further ado, Hannes, the mic to you. Please welcome our distinguished panelist for panel one.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And first of all, let me say it's a great pleasure to be part of this. I think it's going to be a very, very exciting and interesting webinar today. So very quickly, I'm Hannes McNulty. I'm with the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership. And as mentioned, we are collaborating with Switch Asia on this very exciting project. And with me today, we of course have even more exciting panelists to give their perspectives. We have Anthony from Ualrantana, and I have to apologize because I can never pronounce your surname correctly, from the ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. We have Beatriz Martins Carnariero from the Circular Economy Coalition for Latin America and the Caribbean. And you're all realizing that I'm very bad at pronouncing names, so apologies in advance. We have Zafar Makhmudov from the Central Asia Climate and Information Portal. We have Alice Senga from the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. And last but not least, we have Katarina Giering from the Strategic Program who is the strategic program and operation lead of the African Circular Economy Network. Now, I'm really delighted to be able to welcome all of these speakers today, because we're going to have a really interesting perspective from the different regions that each of these platforms represent. So welcome to you all, and thank you very much for taking the time. And again, apologies for my dismal pronunciation of surnames. Luckily, we'll go forward on first names throughout this conversation. So this discussion, we want to go through with you the role of knowledge platforms in raising awareness about circular economy and activating circular thinking. Ultimately, we want to hear from you your experiences on a regional level in terms of how your platforms are supporting actors on the ground with the right knowledge, with the right awareness around circular economy. But I don't want to spend too much time speaking from my side. I think it's going to be much more interesting to hear from all of you. So I would like to first and foremost turn to Alice, because I want to hear a little bit about the experience from ASEN, and in particular, how your knowledge platform has been contributing to, one, awareness building, and two, capacity building in relation to circular economy principles among a number of different target audiences like policymakers, businesses, and of course the public within your region. So maybe you could give us some insights from your side on that to begin with. And sorry, that was Katerina, not Alice. I'm mixing up names already. My sincere apologies.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us to be on this webinar. Thanks, Hannes, as well for the introduction. So maybe just to give a background on the African Circular Economy Network, ASEN, we were founded as a continental network in 2016 with the main goal actually of sharing knowledge and capacitation. So obviously we're quite exciting to be here. It was actually a network that was started by volunteers and luckily has become quite big by now. So we have representation in 42 countries. Maybe also for the African context, it's important to mention that even though circularity isn't really new to the continent, people implement circularity, the terminology is more something that is not as common. We see a lot of the big words green economy, but we do see a lot of movements around circular economy intervention and strategies, also policies and projects being put forward on the continent. So we still, though, have a lot of challenges around seeing circular economy being set equal with waste management. So I think we're really trying to shape the narrative a bit differently, focusing on design and also the social dimension. So what we have done as ASEN is, and how we function as a network is actually once we have multiple members within one country, we build chapters, and those chapters meet on a more regular basis to also connect with one another and share knowledge and news with one another. And then the other part of how we are actually sharing knowledge and doing the capacitation is also getting involved in projects. And I'm just going to speak to a few of them to give you a bit of a practical example. So we have co-chaired the World Circular Economy Forum in 2022 when it happened for the first time on the African continent. And next to the forum, which is focused obviously on a global stage, we had 5 African studios attached to it to really break down that knowledge to a national level. And this year we also hosted the South African Circular Economy Hotspot event, and last year the Nigerian one. So really trying to create also physical meeting space for people to come together and to connect with one another, which I think is quite crucial, going beyond like a digital knowledge sharing platform. In all of the projects that we are also doing, we always try to make the outcomes and results available for everyone. So for example, if we are involved in very research-intensive projects, we're really trying to almost translate the research outputs in a language that's quite easy to understand. At the moment, to give you another example, we're also running training on circular economy skills for the manufacturing sector. And what we have also done with partners, and I think this is important to also acknowledge, is that we like to always partner up with others, because we obviously we are not the owner of the knowledge, right? We're trying to collect the knowledge and then disseminate it, is really to build case studies. And we have done that with Footprint Africa to build a case study database on circular economy implementation happening across the continent. So I think that is a really nice example of showcasing what's already happening on the ground. And then I know we are supposed to speak to the regional side of things. I'm just quickly jump on a country side of things, we are also currently building a circular economy platform for South Africa specific, where we're really also trying to sign up members, and members can actually upload Knowledge Hub and events themselves. Obviously, we vet it from our side. And there we are also collecting case studies specifically for the country. We host numerous webinars as well. We have also obviously engaged with our Global North partners or the more global partners. We joined Economic Pro, which is a platform that was built through the Global Clean Tech Cluster Association to really also feature sustainable and also good news that are actually happening in the space. But to keep it short, we are always very welcoming, obviously, all the partners as well, and very much looking forward to learn from all the other speakers that are here on the ground. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Katharina. You've raised actually, already I'm seeing a huge amount of work that you're doing, and you've raised some quite interesting points. One, shaping the narrative. I mean, getting the right message across. Obviously, that's the core of the awareness building. Capacity building is like, we all know circular economy is such a broad context and it doesn't make sense to a lot of people in many cases. So I can see that that's already a challenge in itself. What I found interesting as well is the way you mentioned your chapters, having kind of, we'll say, local entities, local people that can take that narrative and further adapt it and further apply it. So it seems to be that you're taking a very practical approach. One, getting the messaging right. Two, using local people. You mentioned partners as well. So you're a regional platform, but you're really getting down to the local level. And again, that's obviously please, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, just to mention, is even when we implement projects, we always try to draw on the chapter members that are on the ground, so that the projects are actually implemented by the people that have the expertise on the ground, which I think is really key to have the results that we all want to achieve, right? So I think that is something how we have worked quite successfully.
Yeah. Because I think this is something that's going to come up a lot, I think, in this discussion and future discussions, is making it relevant for the end user on the ground. I mean, we very often come at this from a global level, then we get to the regional, and then we need to disperse it down further. And we often forget that it really needs to end up with an end user that kind of translates all of this global thinking into something really practical and on the ground. But that actually leads me to another question, because you're trying to do a lot, Katharina. And Beatrice, I'd like to move to you, if I may, with a kind of a build on this. Katharina has outlined lots of many approaches to get this down to the local level, but that raises its own challenges. You're trying to achieve a lot, getting your global regional level down to the local level. What would be interesting to hear from you, Beatrice, is one, what are the challenges, for example, you face in the LAC region in kind of this type of approach? And at the same time, when going down to local level, are there specific opportunities you see that you can further build upon? So maybe just to hear from you, both on challenges and maybe opportunities that you get out of the solutions to those challenges.
Thank you, Hans, for the invitation to be here. Hello, colleagues. So I will first talk a little bit about the Circular Economy Coalition for Latin America and the Caribbean, just to present it very quickly. So it serves as a regional platform to enhance collaboration and cooperation among stakeholders, aiming to increase knowledge and understanding of the circular economy. So this whole knowledge component is part of what we are since the beginning. So it provides a capacity building and technical assistance for developing public policies, among other types of projects. Currently, the coalition comprises 32 member organizations, including non-governmental members from NGOs, academia, and private sector organizations. Additionally, we have representatives for 19 countries, government representatives. But I won't read the list. Alongside with the European Union, which is a member since maybe 2 years now, as a supranational organization. The coalition's governance structure comprises a steering committee with 6 governmental members and is supported by 8 strategic partners, which are CTCN, the Center Climate Technology Center and Network, ECLAC, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the Inter-American Development Bank, the Platform for Accelerating the Circular Economy, PACE, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, us, United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, and and we serve as the coordinator of the coalition and the World Economic Forum. So this is our structure, and we have been working since our launch in 2021 in different areas for developing tools, facilitating training opportunities, South-South cooperation, along other types of projects and activities. So among the key resources we developed are, for example, the circular economy in Latin America and the Caribbean, a shared vision, was the first document that we produced, trying to have a regional understanding on the topic. As Catalina mentioned, it's not a concept that is easy to understand and incorporate. The second one was unlocking financing for circular economy in Latin America and the Caribbean. And last year, finally, we launched the Circularity Gap Report. It's the first one that it was made on a regional basis. So we launched the Circularity Gap Report for Latin America and the Caribbean. So I'll put it in the chat there. And about the challenges, more specifically, as you asked. So it's important to consider that the coalition is a collaborative effort that leverages the expertise and resources of our strategic partners and key actors who are at the forefront of regional and global sustainability efforts. So this collaboration enables the platform to tap into a wealth of regional and global knowledge, fostering space for exchange, synergy, and the generation of innovative insights. When we are talking about knowledge sharing, so showcasing best practices and fostering the harmonization of circular economy strategies. So we saw this in the icebreaker, like the best practices normally is something that is very attractive, not only for governments, but also for private sectors and other actors. Capacity building partnerships, so leveraging global expertise to enhance, local training programs such as peer-to-peer exchanges that we did like a broad session peer-to-peer exchange last year, putting together countries to discuss different aspects of national policies on circular economy. And of course, advocate for aligned policies that allow for regional contributions to local frameworks, as demonstrated by, for example, the Circularity Gap Report. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, like now focusing on the challenge. So it's important to take into consideration the scope and understanding. So the LAC region is vast and diverse. We have 3 languages being spoken at the region. So we have different levels of socioeconomic development, priorities, and challenges. So this diversity presents a significant challenge in defining the scope and understanding of circular economy comprehension across the stakeholders. Resource availability. So is very challenging to ensure sufficient financial and technical resources to expand dissemination and maintenance of the platform itself. So we need the platform to be attractive, to be interesting. It needs to be updated on regular basis. We need to work on communications around that so that the people go to our platform to get this information. It's also, we don't have sufficient material from the region. So we lack sufficient material, the case studies or the national policies that are produced for the region and from cases and from the region. And finally, the 2 more points, sectorial differences and needs, so tailored strategies to address the unique characteristics and capabilities of different sectors, such as the public and private sectors, also considering their participation in projects, initiatives, and implementation efforts. And finally, the language challenge, since we have 3 languages and it's not 3, 4 actually. We have 4 languages in the region: Portuguese, Spanish, French, and English. So it's not as easy to find resources in all 4 languages. So this is also a challenge. And as opportunities, very quickly, So we see there is a
Beatrice,
growing demand.
if I can jump in very
Yes,
quickly,
of course.
and if I can actually maybe just stop you there, because I'm realizing with the time we're a little bit stuck in time, but the challenges was actually very important to hear from you. If I get the chance, I might come back on the opportunities, but your challenges actually that you listed, there's one in particular that I took from here, which is the fact that you don't even have enough resources in the region, material like around circular economy. And that I would like to use, if I may, to jump to Anthony, because Anthony, what I'd like to do is ask you about how platforms like yours can actually bring about a change in thinking and understanding on circular economy among industries that might traditionally be kind of resistant to this approach. Now, my question is really to you is, how do you work around that? How do you overcome potential resistance? If you even see resistance, maybe there's another way of looking at it. Maybe it's not resistance and just lack of understanding or resources, but also taking into account, do you have enough information available within the region to help you support different industries to actually undertake that type of transition to the circular economy? So a bit of a lengthy question, and I hope it makes sense for you to be able to quickly answer me on that one.
Right. Thank you, Hans. Just very briefly, we're quite new. The ASEAN Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform was just launched basically in 2023, and we were endorsed by the ASEAN senior officials on the environment. So we're quite new. But having said that, we joined in with Business Finland in the first ASEAN Circular Economy Forum in Jakarta in 2023. And we organized the second ASEAN Circular Economy Forum in Bangkok in the early October of this year. And what we're planning now is that because ASEAN takes a revolving chairmanship, next year we plan, because of the Malaysian chair, the current plan is to organize the Circular Economy Forum in Malaysia, and in the one that was just completed today, we were this last month we were approached by Singapore to consider hosting the 2026 ASEAN Circular Economy Forum. So that's basically where we are at the moment. With regards to business and industry, I think especially with small, medium-sized enterprises, they are at a disadvantage if they want to trade with the EU, European nations. But so in that sense, there's a lot of pressure that they put on themselves to meet trade regulation standards, and circular economy is certainly one key factor on that. I don't see the main challenge, I think, is getting the regulations, understanding the regulations. But I think I think Beatrice and Katrina were talking about localizing. What we're finding is that CEOs or managers or owners of companies struggle when they want to implement it down to the shop floor. The senior management, the employees, the consumers, the clients that they sell their products to. In order to it's related also with the terminology. How do they? And I think this was alluded to from Katerina, in the sense that, how do we localize this? How do we use the existing local context, local concepts and values, and fuse them with what we in this group, and with the in-group, use, the international, terminology and languages. So that's the challenge at the moment. And it's very diverse. We're 11 countries. Probably 9 languages. We're not including the indigenous languages and things of that sort. So that's the challenge which we have at the moment. At the moment, all we're doing is the circular topic is quite broad and varied. So we're in our platform. We're collecting knowledge briefs, policies, programs at national at the ASEAN level, also even at the sub-regional level. So basically, at the moment, the platform is quite broad, and we're lacking at the moment. Our challenge is, how to localize it. Our challenge is to how to bring up, the local concepts and practices and fuse it with this international terminology. And that includes, specifically the challenge for businesses as they grapple with this topic, because it's related to their bread and butter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. And the last thing you said there, how to localize it. I mean, we heard already from Katerina at the beginning, the approach they're trying to take within ASEAN to localize it. Beatrice mentioned here the challenges of even just finding information that would make it relevant on a local level. I think it's a kind of a cross-cutting theme, this difficulty of making it relevant for that particular end user, and specifically in businesses, because if we can't localize it, how can we support them and convince them of it? But maybe this is then an interesting question to pass over to Zafar, because if we have this challenge of localization, there's also this aspect of we have a lot of global information, a lot of global initiatives out there. Maybe from your perspective, what do you think? How can we, as regional, when I say we, how can all of you as regional platforms maybe collaborate more effectively with the global initiatives that are working to bring a lot of information together to ensure a stronger alignment with the local needs? So translating global information, global approaches down to the regional level, down to the local level. Is there a better way or a more effective way that there can be collaboration between the regional platforms and global initiatives? Maybe you have an insight on this you could share with us, Zafar.
Yes, Hannes, and also thank you for having me in this very interesting and very important discussion. As Anthony mentioned, even Central Asia, even for Central Asia, this definition of circular economy is new. And we have launched our own platform in the region, the Central Asia Climate Information Portal. And we believe that these regional platforms can play a pivotal role in bridging local and global efforts to amplify circular economy initiatives through various ways like alignment of objectives. So collaborating with the global initiatives such as the EU's Switch Asia and Green Growth Knowledge Platform, GGKP, regional platforms can align their tools and strategies with international frameworks. This will also ensure that regional activities contribute to and benefit from the global circular economy goals. By participating in international knowledge exchange fora, regional platforms can standardize data collection and reporting practices, ensuring compatibility with global metrics systems. Well, it also can help with capacity building through joint programs, like collaborative training initiatives with global partners can enhance the skills of local stakeholders. For example, workshops or webinars like this, co-hosted with international experts can provide access to cutting-edge research and practical tools across many other regions globally. And another very interesting point here is, as part of global coalitions, regional platforms can also play a role of advocates for regional needs and priorities. On the other way, instead of just only bringing the knowledge from the global perspective, the regional knowledge platforms can also bring to the attention of the global arena on the needs and priorities of circular economies and policies about, let's say, Central Asia's unique challenges and opportunities. Also, by if we talk about leveraging technology and tools, maybe by integrating innovative tools and technologies developed by global initiatives into local platforms, we can also offer stakeholders advanced solutions such as AI-driven analytics or blockchain for tracking circular processes. So in general, there might be also joint pilot projects globally and regionally, and also promoting success stories can be also made easy at 2 levels in one go. So basically, I believe by adopting these approaches, regional projects, regional platforms can not only ensure their relevance in global discussions, but also position themselves as critical drivers of circular economy as in their regions as well as globally.
Thank you very much, Safar. And one thing I picked up in particular on what you said, and I think it's very important to take this away with us, is the role, you mentioned the role regional platforms can play as advocates back into the global discussion. And I think this is very important because very often the global alliances, the global programs, we tend to feel that we need to provide information down rather than get information back up. And it's probably more important we get information back up than provide information down in many cases. And I think that's something really, really important to take, is that the regional platforms are a very, very important conduit of understanding the end user needs, the end user approaches, and getting it back up to the global discussion, because without that, we can never really create a coordinated approach on this that really delivers something adapted to the local level. So thank you very much. Very interesting input there. Just before I jump to Alice, I'm just going to remind everybody in the audience that we'd love to hear if you have any particular questions for the speakers. We don't have a huge amount of time for Q&A, but if you post your questions in the chat, I would also then ask the speakers to be looking in there and seeing if you can answer accordingly as well. So I do encourage the participants to ask questions of the speakers, and we can have quite a dynamic Q&A going on in the chat simultaneously here as well. But Alice, even though I mentioned your name first by mistake, I'm coming to you last in the sequence of speakers. But I want to come to you with a little bit of a challenge as well, because obviously as regional platforms, there is a lot of work going on to try and bring circular economy approaches, understanding, capacity down to the local level. However, we'd love to be able to measure all of this to see, is it really having an impact? Are we bringing about change? Are end users actually implementing actions? Do you have any insights on how knowledge platforms can measure their impact on building awareness, shifting mindsets, etc.? Is it something we can do already? Is it something that's very hard to do? It would be great to get your insights on this.
Thank you very much, Hannes, and thank you very much for having me with you today on this webinar. I just wanted to go very quickly back to what you said about the importance of the information going back up, and that will make a very nice link with a small introduction of the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, which is a joint initiative launched by the European Commission and the European Economic and Social Committee. And that is really what they had in mind. It is this bottom-up approach to hear from the stakeholder from the ground, to be able to make to draft policies and regulations that will answer to their challenges, that is more closely linked to what they experience every day. So that's, I wanted to make that link and say that, of course, this going, like the information going back up is very, very important as well. To go back to the question that you asked about measuring the impact, that is a very, very good question, actually, because measuring the impact is something that we all need to do, because it's help us to navigate and to also adjust the content and the information that we put on our platform, so that it can really be useful to the audience, to our audience. So it requires really a careful preparation beforehand when we define the objective, the scope, so what the audience needs, and also it needs to be combined. It needs to be a combination of quantitative but also qualitative metrics. So these metrics, for instance, can include the number of pieces of content submitted, which is the way our platform works. And if I understood well, the ASEN platform works as well. The diversity in terms of sector, place of origin, and also the level of participation in events, for instance. Regarding assessment, also in my sense, the two that identify two important metrics that gives us an idea of how we're doing on the ground and in our mission of fostering the circular economy in Europe. The first one is the usage and engagement statistics. So since the launch of the platform in 2017, we've reached finally the 1 million visits, and we had it from all over the world, and at least we counted 20 countries outside the EU. And when we analyze this statistic, we always try to see what are the best moments, what are the moments where people were interested, so that we can know what kind of content we put out there that was really interesting for our target audience. And we remarked, we saw that there are some peaks indeed in those statistics, and the crucial moments were like a period where we will also increase our communication efforts, for instance, around our annual conference, or during the promotion for all our thematic events, like which we call the EU Circular Talks. The second metrics that we consider quite important is the strength of our network. So SS primary mission is to promote the transition to a circular economy in Europe, but we know that the triple planetary crisis knows no border. So we were very, very excited and delighted when organizations approached us, organizations representing countries outside the EU approached us with the idea of replicating and also creating structure that similar to SS to promote the circular economy in their region as well. It was not at all in the mindset of Europe is doing better than anyone else, but really it's Europe is doing something that seems to work and that can also be applied to other regions in the world. So building building the network, and also measuring the strength of our network via the amount of network that are actually created. For instance, we were in contact and we created links with the ASEN during the World Circular Economy Forum in Kigali. With the ASEAN helping establish their circular stakeholder platform. So these are the kind of metrics that are tangible, and we see the result, that we can measure the result. Of course, knowing the full extent and the full reach of the platform is quite difficult. It's not an easy task. If we were really to assess our reach fully, we would need resources, we would need much more resources, not only in terms of manpower, but also in terms of tools, which is also linked to financing, which is not always easy. And I would like here to also link to what the other panelists said, the importance of regional hubs. They are very, very, very important. They are crucial because they can act as decentralized points that address the region-specific needs. And then we go back again to this feedback loop the feedback loop that the previous panelists just talked about. So that's what I can say about our experience with measuring our impact.
Already perfect, very detailed and very interesting, Elise, actually. And we have to actually move on to the next session, but I'm going to be a little bit cheeky and just take one question from the chat and pose it to you all very briefly. And I will ask the first one to put up their hand to answer this from the panel. And it's a bit linked to kind of measuring impact and everything everybody has just been saying. There was a question, there are many best practices on circular economy, but what are the bad practices that you see? And I think this is an interesting one because we always talk best practices. Would one of you like to quickly put up your hand and in the space of 1 minute say, yes, these are the classic bad practices we see and that we're combating against? I will let one of you speakers, yes, Beatrice. Sorry, Anthony, Beatrice was a little bit quicker. I'll let Beatrice go.
No, sorry, I already spoke too much. You can leave the floor. Well, up to you. Very quickly, okay. I think that it's not a bad practice per se, but it's something that, and it was mentioned by Katarina, is that we see that people connect a lot circular economy with downstream solutions like waste management. So I would say that this is a bad practice to sell circular economy as downstream solutions.
Thank you, Beatrice. Very good. And you were very quick. So Anthony wanted to jump in. I will let Anthony go for 30 seconds, then Zafar, then Elise, because everybody wants to put in their 30-second bad practice. Anthony.
Greenwashing, in particular with regards to ESG. So we have to be careful on that.
Very good. This is working out well, and I like that one. Zafar, you are next.
Well, you were cheeky with time, and I will try to be also quick. The point of the project on introducing circular economy is to look at the bad practices and turn them into the good practices. So that's what we were working on. So the whole point is to look what's not working well and turn them into working well practices.
Very good. Start with the issue and find the solution. Alice.
But in terms of bad practices, I will go with Anthony. Greenwashing. We see that it is. We try when we curate the content on our website. We always try to fish these out. But what I wanted to make as a point, and I think it is very, very important also when we manage knowledge platforms like SS or the ASEN, is also to share not bad practices but our failures. I mean, that's very often people are very keen to share their successes, but they don't want to share when they fail, and that is also important in order to foster and to accelerate the transition to a circular economy.
Good case studies on learnings. I like it, Alice. Katerina, you have the privilege of the last big bad practice.
Thank you so much. I think Elise mentioned it already. It's almost implementing, well, it is implementing technologies that we see a lot come over from more developed countries actually being implemented on the ground in Africa or developing countries where, for example, certain streams don't actually fit the technology. And then we see there's massive investments and there's no maintenance behind the technology, and actually the cost or the burden then lies with the government. So that's a massive problem. We need socioeconomic technological systems that work for localized solutions, so for the local communities as well. And I think that's like very generic saying, but we need to really watch that out, that we have the right fit for the problem on the ground.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. This was a very, very interesting panel. I have to say, as usual, I wish we had lots more time. I've already stolen 3 minutes of René's session. So I thank you all very much, my dear speakers. It is a privilege. With that, I pass to René, who I owe you 5 minutes in the next session that we do. Please, I'll let you go into session 2.
Thank you very much, and good evening from Bangkok as well. So we move on to the next session. We had 5 regional platforms speak about the information that they are trying, the knowledge that they are trying to create. And of course, the question is, knowledge becomes only valuable once we get it into action and when it's being used. And that's what we would like to focus on with the second panel. So I think we have a different panelists on the call right now. I will do the same as Hannes and apologize up front for the pronunciation of the names because they are not my language. But we have on the call Toding Nguyen, President of the Institute of Strategy of Policy and Natural Resources and Environment in Vietnam, speaking more from the policy perspective, we have Cynthia Reynolds, founder and convener of the Circular Economy Coalition, speaking more as a circular economy practitioner. Pagbasri Kamba, President Director of Asia Pacific Rayon, so speaking from a larger industry. We have Howard Chin, who's co-founder of Bioplastics Company Limited in Vietnam, speaking as a startup. And then Carlos Shields, speaking from the IGADE Business School, Technology de Monterrey, Mexico, speaking as an academic. So two from business, one policy, two more experts, if I may put that in the categories. But apologies upfront for putting people in boxes that don't quite fit. But if I may, and I would like to give everyone small opportunities initially to start, but I don't see Pagbasri. Sarah, can you check whether he's online? But I wanted to start with the business. So then I start with Howard Trien. You are the co-founder of the Bioplastics. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on what your organization is doing towards circular economy, and what has been your source of inspiration and knowledge? So maybe 2-3 minutes, a quick fire of what you're doing and where you got the knowledge from.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Hoa Ching. As Renee have just introduced, I'm co-founder of Bio. We are a deep tech company from Vietnam. We're converting bio-waste into bioplastic. So we contribute to the circular economy through the circular recovery of and reuse of bio-waste, and using bio-waste instead of fossil fuel or starch-based materials to the production of bioplastic. So we are lucky, and we're also very proud to be selected at the in future as a case study for kind of a circular economy solution in Vietnam, future in South Asia. I think that is one way to contribute to circular hubs or circular community by introducing the practices on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you refer to Switch Asia having developed currently something like 75 business case. So maybe Sarah, you can put the link in this chat. Thank you. I'll come back to you a bit later on. Pagbasri, good evening also to you. And may I ask to introduce what Asia Pacific Rayon is doing in the broad circularity domain, where you get the inspiration and knowledge from?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much again, Renee. I'm Basri Kamba, President Director of the Asia Pacific Rayon. So we are actually producing viscose staple fiber, the raw materials for fashion, for textile. But we are not publicly listed company, but then we published our annual report, and then we also publish on our website. So I think the APR is our company is also co-established Indonesia's first sustainable and circular textile organizations, which is actually campaigning and advocating sustainability and circularity in the textile sector. So, and then we call it Rantai Tekstil Lestari. And then last month in October, we launched together with the Copenhagen-based Global Fashion Agenda, Indonesia's Circular Fashions Partnership with the Global Fashion Agenda. So thank you, Renee. That will be an introduction from my end.
Thank you very much, Pagbasri. We will come back a little bit later.
Sure.
If I may go to the policy side, so is pondered, Dr. Toding Din Rugen, may I ask you to elaborate a little bit on what your work is and how you access circular economy knowledge?
We are the think tank of the Ministry of Environment in Vietnam, and we are responsible for designing the National Action Plan on Circular Economy in Vietnam. And we try to get the information, especially on the system of economic and environment accounting and material accounting, and focus on a life cycle assessment And we learn about the knowledge of circular economy through the website, of course, with the stakeholder platform and other platform, and we work closely with the ASEAN organization. We also receive the support from the multi-donor like the World Bank, IFC, GIZ, and European Union when we design international action plan on circular economy in Vietnam. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Carlos, may I ask you to introduce briefly what your work is on the circular economy, how you deal with the knowledge generation and use?
As I mentioned, yes, we has been.
So sorry, I was going to Dr. Carlos. So
okay,
I come back to you, Dr. Carlos, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, and good morning to you from Bangkok. It's a very
Mexico,
early morning still in
you.
Mexico, isn't it?
Yes, I'm here at 6 o'clock now. Okay, well, thank you very much for the invitation to present what we have done here at the Monterrey Institute of Technology in Mexico, specifically on the EGADE Business School. In 2007, we started a platform called the SWIT. SWIT is the Sustainable Wealth Creation Based on Disruptive Innovation and Enabling Technologies. So we started this group trying to solve three of the main problems of sustainability, which is how to decouple the economic growth from the environmental damages, how to transform sustainability into viable strategies. That's a main issue for small and medium-sized enterprises and industries, which think that all the sustainability is a very, very expensive issue. So this is we're trying to create tools to downsize or to transform sustainability in something which is viable. And the third one is how to create entrepreneurs, okay, entrepreneurships, how to create entrepreneurs capable to develop small and startups on the circular economy. You know? So those are the three issues that we have been working since 2007. And this is a main from. It's has a think tank, which is to produce research and theories and practices and procedures. A do tank designed to apply the SWIT framework. We have had many different projects. In fact, one for UNEP in Guyana, in British Guyana, in a small town called Bartica, trying to circularize the city, okay? So I've been working on how to circularize cities, small towns. We have now a couple of bad cases and good cases. And the third one is to have a training center for circular economy entrepreneurs, which is very important to startups. And the fourth one is a center for the formation of experts and PhD students, PhD people, and practitioners. So those are the main issues of this group that is called the SWIT. Okay.
Yes.
So
okay.
I may can elaborate later a little bit more.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'd like the words innovation and entrepreneurship, because I think that with circular economy, it's very much about new products and services that are circular. So that's innovation. And we need people who bring this to markets, which is entrepreneurs. So that's very much there. Cynthia, you are running or a founder of the Circular Economy Coalition. So can you elaborate a little bit on your work and how that's related to circular economy?
Sure, thank you. And thank you for including me in this really important discussion. The Circular Economy Coalition is an international network of value-aligned individuals and organizations in almost 40 countries, bridging the global north and south, collectively advancing the circular economy through shared tools and resources. We are stewarded by a United Nations Environment Assembly accredited organization called Locals.global. It enables us to influence global policy and support local action, really bridging top-down and bottom-up initiatives. We're connecting research and academia, the public and private sectors, as well as the third sector organizations, and we work as a mission-specific innovation system, enabling cross-pollination of data and research for shared intelligence and systems awareness. Core to this is a suite of digital tools to help us catalog, categorize, contextualize, and connect data and resources, and bridge it to the wider community, working not only in the circular economy, but also in related arenas such as the SDGs, bioeconomy, blue economy, regenerative economy, and more. Our tools enable us to map any circular strategy, business model, policy or economic incentive, as well as educational behavioral shift resources. One of the challenges that we've seen is that significant financial resources, such as EU and international funding mechanisms, are being utilized to better understand circular policies and economic incentives in case studies. But without a common vocabulary, this data is often useless beyond a project time span. It often resides in an analog or static digital format, such as a PDF report or an outdated website. And digitalization offers multiple opportunities. Instead of building these closed boxes, we can create pieces of the puzzle to connect together. Data needs to not only be compatible with best practice frameworks, it also needs to be interoperable. The framework that we utilize evolved in the Nordics in 2015 alongside the launch of the SDGs. And as a direct follow-up to the OECD's Circular Economy in Cities and Regions program, it was expanded upon to become regionally agnostic, enabling any region to visualize their ecosystem with granular data. And it's interoperable with other regions, supporting digital twinning across regions, and enables subregions within a region to do the same. We support a multitude of pro bono projects, especially in the Global South. It is, in my opinion, that some of the best learnings often come from where the money isn't. It's a novel concept, but I think we really have to look there. And through our work in the Americas, specifically in Canada, we realized we needed to integrate Indigenous as a data point. Our work in the Global South, including areas in India, taught us that we needed to not look so much at Indigenous, but more about cultural heritage. And our framework and associated taxonomy is not static. It evolves and learns. A common international understanding is really required to help identify and break down the cultural and the linguistic barriers, as mentioned earlier, helping to bridge both the global North and South. And so by utilizing a common structured data set or ontology that not only enables human readable cases, but also machine readable formats, we can better understand and analyze our collected data. And it lays the groundwork to bridge the ever-present linguistic issues. So a pillar of the circular economy is to optimize the use of our resources. This should hold true for the funding for all of these regional programs, enable better policy development. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So quite a lot of topics that you mentioned. Maybe I can start with you for follow-up questions. So you mentioned that you did digital tools, basically. Maybe you can try to unpack that for us, what you do then specifically, and how this helps them to expand and deepen the knowledge which is available. So digital tools could be anything right nowadays. So it would be good to unpack this.
We have a broad suite of tools, but the core one is a digital tool for mapping case studies to understand who's doing what, to be able to understand what's happening in different sectors, in different regions, enable collaboration, and it has very granular data sets. I'm a bit of a data geek and a policy geek, and I am very active on 7 of the leadership groups at the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, as Alice can attest to. I look at all of the overarching groups to say, what are the data points that we need to connect? So we work with cities and regions, we work on the procurement group. Right now, the group on economic incentives is developing a white paper on extended producer responsibility. And we've gathered through workshops there data points to really granularly gather the insight on what is EPR, what are the many, many multitudes. And what we're doing through the coalition is bridging that to the Global South, because we've clearly seen that we need to identify data that can allow us to map out solutions in the context of informal economies. So how can we understand the bigger picture, regardless of which context it's coming from, and enable this to be interoperable?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So EPR is of course a big topic and a topic of also which Asia is working on in several of the Asian countries to see also what are the framework conditions and so on. So let's just park it here. Maybe I can go back to Dr. Din from the ISPONRE, because you were in charge of, or your institute was in charge of developing the Circular Economy Action Plan for Vietnam. You were looking for data points. Can you, what has been your experience? Are the data points you need, or feel you need, are they available? Can you find them?
Yes. When we work on our National Action Plan for Circular Economy, our focus is to look first at the system of economic and environment accounting and material accounting to do the life cycle assessment. So data are very important for us. And we want to have a standardization of data so that we can compare the data between different countries and different regions. So that's we try to work with the Statistic Office of Vietnam and to standardize data and information so that we can do the collection of data for analyzing the data in Vietnam. And we also look at the platform of European and ASEAN and other and try to find the data. And I think that's the most important thing for us is the harmonization of the data and standards so that it can be comparable and make it useful for our policy design. Yes.
Yes. So if we talk about data for circular economy, most people think about materials and then going into waste. So have you benefited from some of the initiatives like the Global Materials Database and which is done by the Resources Panel and UNEP, where there's basically data, domestic materials consumption and so for all countries available. Are these data useful for you, or is this lacking a specificity that you would need?
Yes, they are useful in terms of helping us with the idea of how we can do the material accounting. But as I mentioned, lacking of standardization and harmonization of data between different platforms make it difficult for us to compare. And we also focus on designing the standardization and harmonization of the data for Vietnam. And so that we can collect data, our priority either on the plastic and food and beverage sector. And we also have priority on the data for e-waste. And we want to look at how we can use those kind of data to make assessment for our, especially similar to other country, for the extended producer responsibility, designing the FS and to calculate the data that it can be useful for policy is very important because it will help us to utilize the payment of ecosystem service and also our polluter pay principle in terms of for the whole production and consumption life cycle. And that's what we are looking at. Yes.
Okay, that's good. So can I go back to the business participants? So Pak Basri, you're the biggest viscose manufacturer in Asia, I think, isn't it? And one of the largest globally. So how is it for a leading manufacturer, which is at the front end of a very specialized industry? How do you get information and access to knowledge to really drive circularity initiatives, and whether it's then the water efficiency, energy efficiency, renewable materials and so on? So how do you approach this from a large company perspective, and what is then useful as sources? Where would you look?
So Rene, thank you. So we actually, when your first questions about what really inspire us, for example, so we actually, including our shareholders, regularly went into the World Economic Forum and then the COP meetings, and also how to run the business sustainably, and also to contribute in to reduce all the emissions, right? So actually for us, we believe based on our core principle, which is what we call it the 5 C's. Number one, the good business for us is good for the community, and then good for the climate, and then good for the country, and then good for the customers, and then it will be good for the company. So we work on that, and then that's why I mentioned we finally co-established one circular textile fashions, because Indonesia is actually a lot of good news, good development on how to manage the plastic waste, the food waste, and now we are moving to the textile industry, which is we learn from so many cases, including the bankruptcy case of Renewcell, right? The Sweden company. We learn a lot from that one, because for us the challenges, just like my friend from Vietnam mentioned, it's about, I think it's all the problem. It's about the feedstock, the raw materials. It's a challenge for us. But for as APR, we have the commitment, what we call it APR 2030, in which by 2030, we planned to have 20% of our fiber coming from recycled materials. Now is 2024. Is it? No, right? But looking at us, we are just 6th year in the business. So we plan to achieve that one and then try to work together, not only with the government, but also from foreign entities, from foreign organizations on how to work with this one, because feedstock is not about feedstock. Number one is the data. Number two is about the regulation. For example, can we ship from overseas? And then from year and year, we witness that so many regions develop standards and standards. You see, so I think this is a challenge, but for us, we need to work together domestically first, see what we have, and then how we can work together with so many plans overseas, like circular economy, global fashion agenda, and so on. Hope answer question.
Yes, and I think you highlighted very much the 5 C's or the magnetic north, if I may say so, for your company. So you have a very strongly aligned vision, and that helps you to mobilize and partnerships to realize what are the elements of the vision. And you say, even you're not a listed company, you make an effort to do sustainability reporting to take out to that. So that's really praiseworthy. And then,
Rene,
of course,
because
yes.
Yeah, this is important, because most of the business here still doing the linear approach.
Yes.
So as a big company, we are not publicly listed company, but we publish in our website. We publish also in the annual report about what we're doing in terms of sustainability, what in terms of circularity, working with the Indonesian Chamber. So at least we can work together, as mentioned, domestically, right? Because otherwise we will be left behind while big customers and then big partners have their own standards. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So may I go back to you, Ms. Trin? From your perspective in going into bioplastics, it's quite a new area, quite a lot of innovations happening. So how could you access this information, and what partnerships or what knowledge sources were really valuable for you?
Thank you for the question. I when we hear people talking about data and the needs of standardization or harmonization of data points, but I think that it was a huge work. And for example, to us, emerging, we kind of using the bio waste, and that is, for example, it is not in the database, existing database, for example. So we have to start it from scratch. We have to collect our data from ourselves, and we also try to benchmark with the similar products, which is also very limited information available. So what we did in, for example, in carbon footprint calculation, we also have to work with the consultant and work with and design the way to collect the data to fit into that calculation. So I think it would be helpful to have us, like small company or small startup, to have like from the knowledge platform to have showcase maybe already existing data points available so that we could benchmark or make a reference to. And so that is a safe cost for the companies, small company layers to do that. But I think that is it is we started to do ourselves, but we hope that many others can do, so that we can have share resources, a platform, and to benchmark each other's,
Yes, just for the interest of the participants here, you say bio waste, and you're operating in Vietnam. So what bio waste are you taking, and what you're focusing on?
Currently, our common bio waste come from the brewers bench grade PHE, which is the products from the waste from the brewer company.
Yes.
Yes, and we also use other type of agriculture waste,
and waste from the F&B sector, food and beverage sector, which is from industrial waste.
Yeah. So it's a bit more standardized than bio waste, what we could see of vegetable waste and kitchen
No,
waste.
no, no.
That
Yeah.
would not work. No,
Because it had to be industrial scale and consistent in quality and quantity. That's why we have to work with industry setting.
Yes. And then Dr. Carlos, I'm coming back to you because you are really emphasized earlier on already the innovation side. So where is the inspiration and knowledge for your innovation work with with companies and with cities, regions coming from? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, well, we have been working since 2007 and 2011. We started with the sustainability with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, working on the regulations and policies. But the key issue, as I'm going to emphasize, is we have to go to action. In Latin America, we have a lot of reports, policies, laws, and everything the plastic. We work with the plastic industry here in the Pacific Rim with different countries trying to find out the regulations. But if we don't get tools, specific tools, methodologies to go into action, everything of this is just a fantasy, no? So we have to focus on how to become more viable. I mean, to more economically viable, and work on specific projects. I see that. I heard a lot of initiatives that need money for big projects. Now we have to focus on specific projects. We have been working in cities, municipalities, and the main problem that we have is the lack of rule of law. So and a lot of corruption. So the politicians don't like these ideas. They like to promote it, but not to go to action. So I insist that we have to work more than data or reports. We have to more on tools, specific tools to be applied for Latin American, for developing countries in general, as I read something in the chat, no? So we have to work on specific actions, no, and policies. We have a lot of policies, but we need more tools to implement the sustainability innovation. Okay, so that's what we are doing here at the suite, no, trying to do projects, specific projects in different cities. But that's our main initiative. Go to specific projects, action, no.
Yeah, you mentioned it several times, tools. So can you give an example of one of the tools which you use? Is it design thinking tools? Is it innovation tools? Is it business reprogramming?
Yeah,
what kind of tools are we thinking about? Or is it
we are
engineering tools?
Yeah, we are being using our own tools. Well, of course, they're taking the theories from different authors, different cases, and so we have different tools for business and business development, small business developments. We have something we developed from the circular economy entrepreneurs, specific circular economy entrepreneurs. So it's a different kind of the linear entrepreneur. So we have to work more on the circular economy entrepreneurs and in the entrepreneurship itself. We have working on everything of this is on papers. So we wrote papers on this because we have to do research. Before you apply this, we do research. We have a lot of papers now written and cases. We have cases, and so with the cases, we start working on how to validate these issues. But it's our own. It's called circular value extended systems that we work with the companies and with the industries. But well, I like to share these issues because it's important that, but not the specific projects. You talk about companies now. We have to work on systems, industries, because circular economy doesn't work for one company. You have to have a cluster of companies in order to have the result of the circular economy.
Yeah, I think as a circular economy expert, I think it's sometimes coming top down and bottom up. Both need to meet somewhere in a sense that designing the system, we need too many actors to come together. Sometimes it's smaller initiatives, or that's maybe an academic discussion we could have further on. to see how different tools work together. So we really are running a bit out of time, but there would be many interesting questions. But I would like to maybe go to all of you and ask for what we've heard the 5 platforms we are trying to be useful for people like you to do your work. So what would be your key recommendation? 1 minute, 2 minutes each. I can even take Cynthia's put up your hand first, so you're the first one. But I will come to everyone, so there's no escape. So what is your recommendation for these knowledge platforms, or how can they become more effective?
I believe that this taxonomy through Switch Asia is critically important so that we have interoperable data, which allows us to identify the entire ecosystem, visualize it, scale what needs to be scaled, replicate internationally, but in the natural context and through a network to learn from each other and enable regional symbiosis.
So sort out the terminology that we can communicate and work on that. Great.
Absolutely.
Who would like to come next? Otherwise, I'll identify some volunteers. Pak Basri, your hand is up.
Yeah. So I think first, that will be good, any platform, but for us, it's actually to have a regular, I don't know, either online or offline discussions, and then develop in a partnership approach for a pilot project, because sometimes it looks easy, but then you will have some challenges on the ground. So for us, regular discussion, arrange it, and then maybe online or offline, and then all parties, maybe some of the parties in the group will agree to have a pilot project to implement it. Thank you.
Yes, I think if I take you, it would actually be then a big pilot project. So we would take this
Small one.
further. Yeah. So moving forward in that, yes. I have 3 candidates left. Dr. Carlos, your recommendation for the knowledge platforms.
Well, I think that the main issue is to have a think tank, okay, a think tank of that we can share data, we can share best practices and bad practices, as you mentioned. But I think that we have to have a methodology, so we can I'm oriented to the action, so we need to have this type of environment to be able to share practices, okay? Practices, good practices for everybody.
Yes. Ms. Trin, what would be your recommendation?
Yeah, thank you. I think I would also want us to have the information and resources in the platform more forward looking or informing rather than just documented what's already happened. So we also look forward to have kind of some prediction and informing of the future. For example, regulation will happen next in the short term or in long terms, and also want to turn the platform into more interactive. So it would be from more interactive, either by creating partnership, but also by networking with other stakeholders.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Din, then you are the last in this line. What was your recommendation for the platforms?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the most important thing is we have the shared database. So standardization and harmonization is important. We are looking at the harmonization and standardization of the green taxonomy. And we also want to share the information about extended producer responsibility. And it's very important to share the carbon market connectivity, and we want to utilize the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement so that we can have the connection between the compliance market and volunteer markets and between different countries. And that's very important for us. Thanks.
So very much also around, and this is very topical, as we were all in Baku to see the connection between circular economy, materials use, and then climate initiatives. So time is always too short when we get an insightful conversation, but given this format, we have to close here, and I would like to hand over to Sarah. But I won't do that before thanking you all very much for your inputs, and let's stay in touch on this. Let's try to advance these notions of shared data, more platforms, collaboration on best practices, better understanding what is different elements of the circular economy, what makes more sense or is more impactful than other things, and then also work on the practical side with pilot projects or flagship initiatives where we can really say that how can we move the needle really significantly forward for the circular economy. Thank you very much. Sarah, I go back to you as the moderator.
Thank you so much, René. And I echo, we had a brilliant lineup of speakers in panel 1, panel 2. This is just the second of our encounters. We have a few more to go and many more dialogues between regions to happen. Thanks also to, we had over 100 people staying tuned for 1.5 hours with us, which for us is a great success. If we can stay for 1.5 minutes, I would like to get back the word to our team leader, Zinaida Fadiba, for the closing remarks, a few insights from her, and thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Well, effectively what is left for me is give you all a big applause. What a firework. So it's incredibly insightful discussion, and thank you very much for coming today. And clearly we are speaking to the leaders of circular economy space, whether you are the knowledge curators and generators and coordinators, or your practitioners which are practicing this knowledge and also interested in this knowledge. And we certainly had a very unique opportunity to drive the transformative change, and we will continue, I hope, maximizing this impact. And from my side, probably two small points. First, we clearly need to deepen our collective understanding of the circular economy. By pooling our expertise, we can better clarify terms and principles behind that. We can better identify gaps, anticipate challenges, explore emerging opportunities. So thank you very much for the last speakers to call upon the long-term anticipatory planning and scenario, perhaps even have been somewhat alluded to there. Let us use our platforms not just share knowledge, but also to push for more ambitious actions that challenge industries, policymakers, and communities to go beyond incremental change. And Basri clearly is challenging us to work with industries to lift the bar. And second, collaboration is our greatest strength, clearly, by driving innovation together. Innovation is a key keywords there. We can certainly share tools, data, success stories, failure stories, whoever is daring enough to share them, enabling scalable solution that no single platform could achieve alone, well, clearly, and no single partner, and no single user of those knowledge. Let's connect the dots across sectors, regions, ensure the effective circular models can be replicated and adapted quickly. So let us just live with a small commitment to explore how can we combine our expertise and resources across the platforms and across different sectors for more bolder, more innovative steps towards sustainable, truly circular future. So together we can make a change. Let us continue this conversation. We certainly, I think, met quite a lot of change agents, friends, and good thinkers to continue this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zinaida. So we can close the webinar, and thanks to our colleagues from the GGKP as well that made this event possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Zinaida.
Bye.
Thank you, René. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.